Running Man came out.
Ooh, it's been a while since an Edgar Wright film.
Yeah, I think it was Last Night in Soho his last one.
That was, yeah. Unless I think he may have directed an ad for McDonald's. Like, I'm gonna double check that. I don't want that like as gospel. But I remember
Well, I'm not.
seeing it online. And
Well,
it
I'm not
looked
gonna.
a weird looking ad. It could have been.
Well, I'm not going to exactly factor that into his filmography.
I would. They're true.
No, I think it was about the same time. I think he made Last Night in Soho, and then he directed a documentary movie about the Sparks brothers, who were kind of a synth pop duo. Now, I haven't seen it, but like it seems like it's very much like it's very like by the numbers, like documentary filmmaking, like musical biopic. No CGI monkeys to be seen, unfortunately. So it's been a while, and interesting that his return is a kind of nostalgic remake of an 80s action movie.
Yeah. Okay, all right. By the way, yes, 2023, Fancy a McDonald's, he directs it. We'll Google that. Please go on.
Well, and I think that's like it's an interesting kind of play because obviously for those that don't know, Edgar Wright is an extremely effective filmmaker. Made the Cornetto trilogy of Shaun of the Dead, World's End, and Hot Fuzz, all critically acclaimed.
Baby Driver as well.
Then went on to I was about to say made on to make Baby Driver, which I think is, sexual predator aside, I would say is a masterpiece.
Yes, and it is unfortunate that he spent most of the movie referring to our like teenage main character as baby. But that's the world we live in.
Oh, that's a shame. But no, Baby Driver, like Baby Driver is a movie that is out and about. That is, it's so creatively fulfilling to watch because everything is on a rhythm, everything is on a beat, everything is so sharp and well timed, and it felt like the precipice of everything that like the Cornetto trilogy was kind of culminating to as filmmaking as an art form. And Edgar Wright like was kind of like everything was spinning on four wheels. And then Last Night at Soho came out, and while I definitely am warmer to it than I think a lot of people were, definitely had a kind of an odd feeling. Do you ever watch that one?
Oh, I have it on DVD. I love that film.
I think like it's definitely a different take, like because it's more of a kind of it's more of a thriller than any of his other kind of action comedies. So it's definitely playing in a different space, but it's a strange sort of retro trip that a lot of people just kind of didn't seem to vibe with.
Well, I mean, I think it also came out in 2021 during the COVID, not like cinema fears and all that, which definitely didn't help because I kind of cancelled out word of mouth a bit. But so I don't know what I liked about that film. I know we're going to get to like the Running Man in a second. Is I really liked how, because it's kind of a story within a story. Within the flashbacks, it was all your Baby Driver visual craziness, and then you had a very grounding normality with our actual lead character. I liked that contrast because you can't go bigger than Baby Driver. It's all over the place in terms of its style. Like, so I'm glad he took that approach.
I suppose, but I think like there was definitely kind of a feeling of like, well, what's next? What's happening? And then they have such a I'd say like such a long gap that COVID and McDonald's ad aside,
What the Bunsen?
we've not had it's not been like this much of a thing. And as I said, it's certainly an interesting choice that his next one seems to be a remake, which not a remake, like a legacy sequel, I think is the term for it. Okay. Which admittedly, I haven't actually seen the old Schwarzenegger movie, but this is it's kind of a legacy sequel to like the 80s cult action movie, The Running Man, which is a very like proto Hunger Games, like death game style. You're hunted by a team of hunters. People get cash prizes for citing you, but if you win, you get like $1 billion.
Yeah,
that's the basic conceit of like The Running Man in the universe, and it's definitely like it is a legacy sequel. They make mention. I don't know what happens to it, but Arnold Schwarzenegger is on the money in this in this movie. But it stars Glenn Powell as our down on his luck father of a daughter, a father of a sick daughter who just needs the money and is strapped for cash, and inadvertently ends up entering the Running Man and has to survive against the world. And I think what's throwing me is that it's a very straightforward movie for an Edgar Wright film. Like, and I think I'd be, if it wasn't an Edgar Wright movie, I think I'd be much more delighted by it. But I think I came away just expecting a little bit more. Not again, this is all to say the movie is good. The movie is very, very good. If you want like a pure straight action movie, which we don't get a lot of these days, you know, I think kind of John Wick and its like clones seem to be the kind of de facto style to it. So this definitely, being a legacy sequel, obviously harkens back to a lot of those kind of 80s action sensibilities. And while, like, you know, it lives in that kind of cyberpunk dystopic sort of futurist world that, like, you know, old 80s movies deal in. It's distinct now that we haven't had that in a while.
Yeah, because the movie and action, like high budget, like Disney Plus shows and all that, there kind of really isn't a space.
Yeah,
that kind of stuff in cinema, unless it's like a Tron or something like that.
Which Dara's not here. We don't need to talk about Tron.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like that's, again, you know, I think the space is there for something like this to do very well, and it does. And Glenn Powell kind of always seems like a very kind of plain face to me. I haven't seen him in much, but he's never been an actor that like jumped out at me as being particularly impressive. And in this, he's very charming, he's very likable, he's very, like, he does it all very well, but it's very like he is a stand-in action star.
Yeah, but I like that Edgar Wright, just taking the last 3 films as an example, like likes to kind of find someone and elevate them rather than cast an existing famous person. Maybe with the exception of like Anya Taylor-Joy or something like that. But even then, she wasn't as big as she was back when that film came out, you know.
Sure. But yeah, like that's all this to say, I think knowing what Edgar Wright can do in terms of like structural filmmaking and setup and payoff and like visual flair, it sits at like an 8 where it could have been a 10, if you get what I'm saying. I think like the movie had so much potential to be better than it is. And again, I'm trying not to like say this in a way that like to say that the movie isn't good. It is good. It is fun. The action is very exciting. The sets are very, very nice. I get the feeling of a lot of like of kind of almost wasted potential.
No, I get you. It's like there's actually not many directors left anymore who are their own brand. Like, if, for example, Tarantino had followed through and made that Star Trek movie, we would not be going to see a Star Trek movie. We'd be going to see the 10th Tarantino movie, just to pick a random example. You're not looking at it as a remake of The Running Man. You're looking at it as the next step in his career. And so you're measuring it against that, not against other action movies.
Exactly. This feels like what we would have gotten had he directed Ant-Man.
Okay.
It feel, because like that's like, you know, obviously it's one of the kind of like mythical what ifs in filmmaking where, you know, he was set to direct the original Ant-Man and then pulled out or got kicked off, still unclear.
The legend is that he wanted the movie to be set in the 60s, 70s, and basically for it to be similar to what we ended up with in the Fantastic Four this year. And they were dead set on keeping it modern so Ant-Man could join the Avengers and stuff. And that seemed to be the split. I'll be honest, that was also the Age of Ultron time. A lot of stuff seemed to be hitting the wall. We're going to get a great documentary about that someday when the dust settles.
But like it feels like, even though it's not part of like a megacorp brand that, like, you know, the Marvel Cinematic Universe is, it feels like an auteur filmmaker that is boxed in by the constraints of like a narrative system where I don't think there was, obviously I can't speak, you know, I wasn't involved in the production of this film, but it feels like there was a lot of limitations set on him that shouldn't have been.
Which is weird, because like the Running Man isn't like, it's not like a Star